everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to continue the ultimate horse tutorial by discussing the hind legs. I was going to include like a thing on kicking, because kicking is a very important element of a horse, but this is going to be a 23-minute video as it stands, so I will do a separate video on kicking. If the front legs are weight-bearing and stationary, then the haunches are defense and motion. The haunches of the horse are extremely powerful. They are capable of bearing the entire weight of the animal and also lifting the entire body off the ground. I don't know if you've ever seen a horse do a 7-foot vertical leap. But you have now. A desirable trait for horses is it's prized in dressage horses. You want a horse that is light on their haunches, and when a horse transitions into moving, they shift their weight onto their haunches, or at least most of their weight. They will keep some of their weight in their neck and shoulders because it acts as a counterweight when they are in motion. The hind leg of a horse is also unique in its evolution. They are walkers, the same way that we are. So horses have a built-in pendulum in their tarsus, basically a very, very long heel in the horse. After the femur, you have the knee, and then you have the fibula that comes down, and then you have the tarsus. So we're literally talking about foot bones at this point. And actually, I really like this picture of a human foot being compared to a horse, because they evolved a much, much longer foot with only one toe. It's weird to think about, but that's where you are. There you go. Not that you can't find incredibly weird shit when it comes to comparative anatomy between humans and horses. I guess I do find hind leg anatomy a little bit easier to do. I think it's just because you have a more obvious shape to work with like the big haunch, and then it tapers down into the hoof. It's a lot easier than working with a lot of just the kind of endlessly straight lines that front legs can be. I think the anatomy is a little easier to block out. It's a little easier to keep track of. Horses, again, have predictable movement and will only take certain positions when they are in flight, trotting, galloping, what have you. And that is very true of the hind leg. The hind leg is just as predictable in its patterns as a front leg is. So now we're looking at just the bones that make up the hip. Horses have kind of an unusual hip. It's not meant for sitting. And in a lot of other animals, even cats and dogs and apes and things like that, you'll find that they have hips for sitting. Horses just aren't meant to sit. They're supposed to stand or lay down. There's kind of no in between. Surface level, you will always see the point of the hip. That very first front hip will always be visible on a horse. It's a really good landmark to keep track of. The line that goes down from the other point of the hip down to the haunch is called the croup. C-R-O-U-P. And it is very important in conformation. It's very important in the top line of a horse. The croup means a lot to the health of the animal. If the horse is starving, that's one of the first places they're going to lose fat, is in the haunches. Now, I have to correct this, because this is called camped under, which is when the horse has, like, its feet too far up underneath him. It's considered a conformation flaw. In a sound horse, it's usually a sign of injury. If a horse is hurting, their feet are tucked up underneath them. So these are just the surface level shapes that you need to keep in mind. The knee can be very complicated when the horse is in motion, but I don't really think it has to be. The big thing to pay attention to is they have this gigantic bone in their heel, and a huge tendon connects there. It's probably one of the biggest and most powerful tendons in the entire equine body. Pay attention to that. And you also, when you are drawing legs correctly, you want to be able to draw a straight line from the point of the butt, basically the end of the croup where the tail starts coming out, to the ground, and have the horse's leg aligned correctly with that. And these don't. the heel is too far under and it's not up against that straight line. So this is bad. You don't want to draw a leg like this. When you are drawing the leg from the side view, the croup and the heel have to align with each other. It will be a vertical alignment, straight vertical drop to the ground. It's really important in regular horses. If you have a gaited horse, horses like Tennessee Walkers, Peruvian Passos, Paso Finos, they may have different conformation for their legs, because gaited horses tend to have their hind legs more under them than regular horses. But this is tips for drawing just your regular old horse, no gaited gene. So you always want to make sure that that heel and that final bone before the hoof, that they align well with that dropped vertical line. I also want to point out, you have basically the equivalent of wrist bones or ankle bones right below that tendon. So when that tendon connects, it's actually going to bend underneath it, because that tendon, pulls that really big bone spur back and forth. So it is a square that you need to keep track of. Like right after you draw the little U for your tendon is basically where you're going to draw the little square for all of those. I think they're metatarsals, because we're talking about feet. Sue me, I'm not as good as my equine anatomy as I could be. So this is an ideal horse leg. It is drawn conformationally correct, that the heel, the tarsus and the metatarsus and all that is aligning with the croup. And as long as you're doing that from the side view, you are drawing your horse correctly. This one's like the meat right below the knee is a little bit anemic. It could probably stand to be filled out more. But this is also, I don't know, maybe a younger horse that's a little bit leggier. These are the areas that you need to pay attention to. I think the square right below that tendon loop in the leg is really confusing for a lot of people. And horses and probably deer are the only ones that have this kind of anatomy, so you're probably not drawing it that often. So okay, you got your fancy hind leg that's looking pretty good, all things considered. You're feeling cocky. So now let's go into the other ways that you can incorrectly draw a hind leg. We're getting into conformation again, and this is called camped under, which I think I've already mentioned, which is when the horse's feet, his actual hooves on the ground, are too far tucked underneath the body. It's just the wrong way to draw it, and it also means you're getting almost like a little bit more of a zigzag going on. If you look at the angle of the knee versus that tarsus bone, you're getting a lot more of a bend than you want. And you want a very elegant bend. It's circular, it flows. And if you're drawing a horse with his feet too far up underneath him, it looks a little unnatural. You can usually tell like a bad drawing of a horse is from being camped under, because people will draw them almost like they're walking on their toes, like a dog or a cat gathering their legs to jump, and that's not right. You don't want to draw a horse that looks like that. So then you can also obviously have the opposite of this, which is called camped out. You can, to a certain extent, get away with this if you're trying to show the horse in a show pose. But again, you're seeing that the leg is breaking that rule of not following the complete vertical drop. I think even in show poses, you don't want that tarsus to be diagonal. You want it to be vertical. And that the horse, if it's, a natural, well-bred animal, the horse is not going to have a diagonal tarsus. It's going to have something that's at 90 degrees with the ground. It is vertical. Keep drawing vertical and 90 degrees. I guarantee you, if you're not drawing verticals and 90-degree angles, you are running yourself into trouble when you're drawing the leg. Either leg, whether it's front or hind. So, after camped out, you can also draw the knee and the tarsus area incorrectly by putting them too vertical in relation to each other. You don't want, again, you want that curve in the leg, and it's important. And if the knee migrates and like a little to the right and the tarsus migrates a little to the left, you're losing that really important curve in the top part of the leg. It makes the horse look rigid and really stiff. And I see this a lot with, you know, people trying to draw horses, that they try to make the leg almost like too straight. And why would you want that in an animal that has like a beautiful natural curve? And one of its like most enthusiastic supporters of horses enjoy the shape of the hind leg. So if you're making the hind leg too straight, you need to check your anatomy, because the tarsus is vertical. Remember, it's up and down, but then there is an angle between the tarsus area and the knee. Pay attention to that angle and get it right. A lot of my horse drawings, when I'm looking at reference and things like that, is paying attention to my angles, where the bones are angled in relation to each other. And you can see that just when you migrate that knee and migrate that tarsus area, you just get kind of a stiff looking animal. This could also be a horse that's injured. It could have injured its knee area and caused it to like draw up and be real tight. But this just doesn't look like a harmonious horse to me. And you can also see that when you lose, you know, that angle, it affects your tarsus area, and it's not going to line up with that crop area anymore. So don't make these two areas migrate. Pay attention to their angle, and if you're drawing them right, at least from a standing point of view, you will have that whole bottom leg bone align with the vertical drop. And we are looking now at the haunches, but I wanted to do a quick drawing of an angle that isn't looked at much, which is basically the hind leg from a front point of view. These animals have a knee, and you want to use your straight lines when you're drawing from the front view. So remember, find your midline in the knee, and you'll have a complete perfect vertical drop all the way down to the rest of the leg. But this is like, if you're kind of looking at a horse from a 3/4 angle, you are able to see the leg from the front. That knee is very important. It's a very prominent landmark to have. And again, you see that I find my midline in the knee, I draw all the way back up, and I draw all the way back down. I don't think this is taken into account much because the angle is almost never drawn like this. But I think people get stuck really easily. And if you pay attention to your landmarks, the hip bone, that knee circle, and then the square for that tarsal area, you're pretty much home free, because by the end of that, the foot is ready to go. So now we have the actual like back view. Anus optional. I'm not your mom. Quarter horses have really big butts, and they cannot lie. This is kind of a much skinnier horse than normal for the sake of exaggeration and looking at the anatomy. But again, you have that vertical line. Pay attention to it. It's right down the middle of the hoof and goes right through the tarsus bones. And this is the correct way to draw this view. Let's ruin that. So one of the ways that you can draw the hind legs wrong is kind of the same thing that we did before, camped out or camped in. That the heel loses its center alignment and migrates. And that is called standing wide. Again, I do want to reiterate, this is a conformation flaw. It does not mean that the animal is bad or wrong. Plenty of people have horses that have this kind of look, and it doesn't stop the animal from being able to be a horse. This is just for drawing the ideal horse, and if you want to draw a realistic horse, you can look at how these common conformation flaws happen. That tarsus is no longer like a square. You're not drawing like 4 straight lines. You're drawing the tarsus on an angle, and that's not good. That really big tendon that hooks in the back of the leg, if you're around horses for any amount of time, you'll hear that tendon pop. A lot of the tendons around their knees and that big tendon in their hind leg, they just tend to crack when the horse is just hanging around doing stuff. Pay attention to your vertical markers. See how this drop down? When your tarsus migrates, it also puts off your hoof. The hoof loses its midline too. And then you have a horse that's standing wide, and it's not vertical anymore. Vertical equals good drawing horses. Sometimes a leg that's drawn too straight can be known as sickle hawk. It's like the hawk has to make up the angle for what the leg lacks, and it's undesirable. Moving right along, you have the immediate opposite problem by moving the feet in too close. It's called stands too close. I don't, again, see a lot of these as a real problem for any regular animal. Standing too close, the horse might trip over its feet, or that the feet might hit each other. I can see that possibly being a thing. But the feet being too far underneath the body puts strain on how the animal's weight lies. And I could see how maybe standing with your feet like too under would probably put strain on the horse. Maybe it wouldn't be comfortable, or it would be easy for it to feel pain. Again, this is usually a sign of injury in horses if their feet are drawn up because they're feeling pain and they're trying to redistribute their weight in the least painful way possible. Remember, they're trying to keep their weight off of their hind legs if they can. And again, if you lose that vertical drop, it's not going to come in on the inside of the hoof, it's going to come in on the outside of the hoof, that your alignment area completely misses the midline of the hoof. So there you have it. Don't draw your horses with their legs too close to each other. Also keep in mind that you're probably going to align with your tarsus bone instead of keeping your midline in that big tendon right down the center of the leg. So most of the conformation flaws we've talked about up to this point is when either the knee moves or the hoof moves in an unideal way. So now we have what happens when the tarsus bone moves or migrates in an incorrect way. And this is called cow-hawked. This is probably the most egregious error you can make because, again, this goes like completely out of its way to defy the vertical drop. You're suddenly dealing with entirely weird and crooked shapes and alignments on the animal. A horse can stand like this because they have injuries. Again, not a problem. Plenty of horses are cow-hawks. And if you are looking to make kind of a character, like a ranch horse or maybe an ornery horse, an older horse, maybe they can be cow-hawked. This looks really weird, but I want to exaggerate it because it happens a lot. That I don't know why. People just feel the need that the horse has to stick its legs out from the body, and it ends up creating this extremely awkward looking creature. You also get a diagonal on both the tendon and the leg bones, and you don't want that. Remember, straight is your friend when you're drawing horses. Don't draw gay horses. Because they say, hey! Now, if the tarsus migrates out, you get bow-legged. When the tarsus migrates in, you get cow-hawked. So that is pretty much it for this video. Man, it was long. I hope you learned something about drawing the hind legs of a horse, because they are pretty complicated, but they can be broken down, and if you draw them consistently, you will have a lot more luck with making them look agile, making them look majestic, all the things that a good horse picture is supposed to be. So, subscribe if you liked this. I will be continuing with the head next time, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot.